It is more of a strong suit with regard to women. And so there are some gender differences in terms of how we're built and how our wiring is. But then there are some things that are not really gender-specific, but we assume they are, like the island and the wave thing. There are plenty of island women out there, but we generally think of islands as being men, and that's not really true. So it's easy to get all this stuff confused. But yes, there are plenty of women out there who can have, and that would make sense, would have certain deficits that would disable them from being empathic or them to be able to see a certain emotion on a face or something like that.
And so, I mean, it sounds like part of it can be, what you're born with, just the way your brain is wired, whether it's deficits or just the way you tend to be in the world. And a lot of it is how you were nurtured and your culture and how you were raised. Exactly.
It's nature and nurture here.
And it's interesting. So we're talking about the islands and the waves and the anchor types, and that's your attachment type. But you talk a lot about a lot of different ways that we relate to one another, especially in relationships. And one of the things that you talk about is processing speed. And as you can tell, I'm quite a quick processor. And when I'm with someone who's a slower processor, you did mention that the faster processors can tend to bully a little bit when you're in a disagreement, because I'm like, blah, 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 I want an answer, tell me. And he's like, and then you get more upset and it ends up in this big fight. So can we talk a little bit about the difference in processing speed?
We call them tortoises and hares, and I'm a hare like you. I'm very fast. Again, not a gender thing. There are people, and this has nothing to do with intelligence. This has to do just with processing speed in this area of social emotional functioning. There are people who can be very, very fast in other areas, but then they start to get in trouble in their relationships or have to talk about themselves in relation to their partner, and they slow down. So there's two reasons that people would slow down. One is because they're trying to stay out of trouble, either because they're afraid the next thing they say will get them into big danger, or they're lying. That's another reason why people will slow down. But the people who are always slow when talking about social, emotional stuff are tortoises, and these people just process that information slower. And if they're with a hare, which often happens, it's kind of an unfair fight because the hare is just boxing them against the ropes all the time. So it's kind of an unfair fight. But it has nothing to do with lack of intelligence, and this issue has nothing to do with deception or lying or withholding. It's just a slower speed, that's all.
And there's some things like your attachment style, the ideal when if you're wanting a secure relationship is that over time you want to start having more anchor behaviors so that the two of you can become anchors, so that you're still going to have your natural tendency to be how you are, but you can start to change your behavior within the relationship to a way that's more effective. But processing speed, you've just got to accept that your guy or your girl is a tortoise. You can't speed that up, right?
No, you can't. Not really. I mean, you can try, but no, not really. And also the same thing with people who are high stimulation people and been that way from birth and come from very high stimulation families. They're going to be that way. Thrill seekers and rock and roll and loud and expansive. They're going to be that way. And there are other people who are very low and slow and not so excitable. They come from families like that. They're going to be that way too. So the problem here is not changing. The problem here is accepting yourself as you are and understanding yourself and taking responsibility for the things that you do that are not consistent with secure functioning relationship, and knowing your partner and accepting your partner as is, and knowing how to drive that car, ride that pony, handle that person in the best way. That's really what we're looking at here. It's not that people have to change. It says they have to override their differences with an agreement or set of agreements that are based in secure functioning that protects both people. So that seems like maybe unclear. We know that there are systems out there that demand that you look out for your partner. Your life depends on your partner. No man left behind. All of this business where the culture demands that you attend to each other and that you're loyal to each other, that you care for each other. We have that in the military and paramilitary cultures. These are people from all different backgrounds, yet they do it. And yet we have couples coming together complaining that they're so different and don't seem to be doing this. They don't seem to be in a couple bubble or in the foxhole together. And that's a matter of not getting it. People are not making agreements to do things that are good for both people to protect each other, above and beyond personality, above and beyond momentary feeling, because to not do that, there are some pretty severe consequences. And I think people mostly are not understanding that. Does that make sense at all?
It does. I mean, I'm fully on board with this. I just wish I could get other people on board because I hear that so many times the whole, the sense of I'm not ready for a relationship or you're not ready for a relationship. You're too much of a mess. You're too needy. Not necessarily about me, but just we have this judgment about people for having needs. Like, how dare you have needs? You should be able to take care of yourself.
We should be able to be as screwed up as we are and still be in a couple bubble, foxhole together in a relationship that's built on safety and security. No problem. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do that. There is no waiting. This is done in real time. And, people out there can think of it this way. If we were in a war-torn area and bombs were dropping on us, would we be lamenting that we're not with our soulmate? No. We'd be pulling together and taking care of each other because we have to for survival. And we go back to our biology here. Why do mammals pair bond? It's partly to protect the offspring, but also to protect each other from the outside, from predators. We've lost this because we live in a very cushy world right now. But people who understand secure functioning get it eventually, hopefully not too late, and they begin to make these decisions and agreements between each other and grow up.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, we could talk about this all day, but it's time for a break. So we'll be back with more synchronicity in a moment. Right now, we are speaking with Dr. Stan Tatkin. He is the author of Wired for Love, How Understanding Your Partner's Brain and Attachment Style Can Help You Diffuse Conflict and Build a Secure Relationship, as well as the audio program, Your Brain on Love. And it sounds like he's working on a book, Wired for Dating, that's going to come out next year as well. So we will be back with more synchronicity in a moment.